Yeah, so basically, I just brought this little skull in, do a little still life of it. Just gonna do basic wet on wet technique. Does anybody oil paint here? One, two. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started because we're running a little late here. But I think you can kind of do similar stuff with acrylics, or you definitely try to, because you got to work quick. So yeah, so I just start by getting everything wet with the odorless thinners here, and that way you can kind of move things around and not stress about drawing it wrong or any of that stuff. It's okay to make mistakes. I do a lot of the time. Kind of play with the composition, and one thing that's good is to always make sure you prep your surface properly. Feels a little bit like I did not on this board, but it's not too far off, so I'm not gonna worry about it. So yeah, just get a nice even surface, not too wet, but enough that I can kind of push things around a little bit. I like to start with nice earth tones, so it doesn't give too much character to the final drawing. If you want final painting with like real warm tones or real cool tones, you can start your base layer with something like that. Some like strong colors that'll shine through in the end. So basically, to start real loose, find a nice. Sometimes divide it up into thirds. Get your composition down, but starting real loose and wet, kind of get your bearings for where you want your rough shapes to be. And generally looking at the object about probably 70% of the time, looking at your canvas maybe 30% of the time. It's always kind of a fun part of the process, because where you can kind of make your initial decisions about what you're really going for, how much you want to show, what parts you want to focus on. Most of the time, if you know my work, I'm doing a lot more planning out ahead of time. Drawing in the sketchbook.
Unknown caller.
Yeah, I'm not super into that, so I'm gonna just get rid of it. Start over, a different composition. It's nice to be flexible. Further back here, leave a little more space up here, give it a little more room to breathe. That'll help the eye flow around, go around the canvas a little more. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of building a box of shapes. So everything, when you're doing still lifes, can be kind of broken down into basic shapes. So I'll do it a little darker than I normally would. So got a skull that can kind of, basically break it down to, you know, not necessarily, I mean, you can start with like the cube, almost, and then, it's gonna have kind of this little, cone off of it, and that cube's gonna kind of turn into a little bit of a ball. You know, just kind of get these basic shapes down, and then you'll kind of start feeling out where everything's at. And then, you know, doing the kind of triangulating everything, so, you know, the line of the eyes goes across there. See the top and bottom of the eyes. And the angle of the cheekbone kind of comes down this way. So that way you kind of find how everything is in relation to each other. Kind of start, all right, well, that's, you know, where the eye belongs. And start saying, well, the nose will come out here. Kind of playing with. Some of that stuff. The slower you creep up on the initial details and get everything right, the better you'll set yourself up later in the painting. I find one big mistake people make is to get too attached to details too early on, and then they kind of shoot themselves in the foot for later on, and they don't want to go back and change things because they've already put too much effort in. And it can be frustrating once you've done a lot of detail on a spot to go back in and change it. Do that. But I kind of like to just get a little bit of an idea of, you know, shadows. I'm not going to do the mandible on this guy. Just kind of keep it a little more basic. Blob of what I want to do there. So now we're going to go and mix up some kind of mid-tones of skull colors. taking, taking my Naples yellow here, a little burnt umber, and some warm white. And I'm just kind of making this mid-tone here. That'll be kind of my base, so I'll get a lot of that in, and then I'll take some ultramarine and some of that burnt umber, and kind of make my dark tones almost a black, and the warm white to pull out the highlights. So we can start.
Good job, Mark.
An older computer, it's just not cooperating today.
Yeah, we got it, perfect.
There we go.
Yeah, so you can see I'm basically still just kind of blocking in, getting the basic color shapes here. Just kind of figuring out where everything needs to be. And, so nothing's too set in stone still. Still room to change stuff out, but it's starting to get a little chunkier. So I'm using that warm white right now. It's kind of knock everything back a little bit. So a lot of times once I get things kind of a little chunkier, I like to just kind of go over and smooth them out, step back, see how we're looking shape-wise. And it gives me a feel if we're going in the right direction or not. What parts might need a little more fleshing out. Parts are looking good. So I'm not going for 100% real on this one. I'm just gonna kind of, if I try to go too realistic, then I'll be here all day because I can get very uptight about that type of thing. Just kind of do a little dark background here just to pull things out. So another thing I find helpful is to look at negative space when you're painting. That can really help you see some of your flaws. Like this forehead could come up a little bit more. A bit of, there. Fade these teeth out, 'cause that's one thing that takes a long time to paint. And really have a long time. So we get the lazy teeth painter method today. So take that, any dentists in the crowd today?
Now, Brady, do you work on just one piece until it's done, or do you go back to different pieces?
No, I usually have kind of like one big piece I'm working on, and then I'll have a few more smaller pieces going at the same time. I mean, sometimes I'll have quite a few pieces going. Usually like 2 or 3 pieces going at a time, but every now and then I'll have like 8 pieces going. But most of the time, yeah, like 2 or 3.
And why is that? Is that because you just get kind of disinterested and come back, or?
No, it's just more, well, one, it helps me get a lot of work done. When you paint every day, it's hard to, sometimes you can't work on pieces every day with oil paints. And sometimes, like, one piece will be like a study for another piece, and then you end up kind of getting into it.
And you can't, why do you have to leave a piece and come back to it?
Just because it's drying, it needs a little more time to dry, or, if it's too wet, you can't work on the same area again, or sometimes you need a little time to step back from it and see if it's, if some areas need improvement before you can move on to other areas of the painting. Or if, there's all kinds of reasons you might need to step away from painting for a little bit. A lot of times you just get to a point where you need to give it a little time. Yeah, a lot of times taking a little time away from a painting is essential to seeing what the painting needs.
Now, in the one you're doing right now, why did you decide to do the background in that dark?
For contrast.
Right.
Just leaving it white just makes it, it just makes it look not finished if you just leave it white. It's already going to be kind of we're already kind of pushing the amount of time that I have. Got a little bit of a wait late start, so. Normally I'd probably spend a little time fading something in or out, or doing a little stronger shadow at the bottom or something, but.
It's amazing to me how quickly it has really come out though. It's like, I really wondered how you're gonna get something like done in such a short period of time, but.
Well, I'm in a rush. That's how I'm gonna do it.
If you had made the decision, though, to have a dark background to start with, would that have kind of thrown off the values for like the eyes and the, or do you see that as a separate issue?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'll pull it all together, like, once I get some of these, some of the contrast more established, I'll probably pull some of the black into it, so it's not like, so it integrates a little better. So a lot of times, like, I'll just, be like, oh, this is dark under here, I should, just pull this, and like that, so it's, so it doesn't look like two separate paintings. I don't want it to look like a sticker on there. But I'll get to that later when, when it's a little more apparent. Right now I need to still work out some issues with what goes where on the skull part, and then I can start worrying about how everything's working together and all that stuff. Right now I need to focus on, is everything correct, and then I can start worrying about how good of a painting is it, we like area by area. Like I was saying earlier, how you don't want to do this stuff before you have the drawing all in place, because then if you do this and then you got to move something, you're going to be mad at yourself. Please feel free to keep the questions coming too, because I forget to talk. So, and I'm happy to answer. It's easier for me to think about things to talk about that way.
So are there particular brands of paint that you feel more comfortable with?
Yes, I'm very particular to Gamblin, just in general. I think overall quality across the board, they make a really good paint.
So what's your definition of a good paint?
Uh,
What qualities are you looking for?
Just the consistency, the amount of pigment in the paint. It's, there's different colors from different brands that are gonna be good. And just pretty much every single paint that I buy from them is good. Some brands you'll get one paint that's good, one paint that's not good. And different people have different preferences, so that's, it might not be your favorite brand, but for me that's, they've just been consistent across the board for, I think I've been using pretty much, aside from a few colors here and there, I've pretty much been using them exclusively for 6 or 7 years now. I mean, there's some other great brands out there, but just price to quality ratio, you can spend 3 times as much on a different brand, and I don't think it's you're getting much better of me, you know what I mean? It's just,
Brady, do you paint every day?
I wouldn't say every single day, but, like over the last few weeks, I've been so busy promoting my show. I've only painted a couple times, and
Does it feel weird when you're not painting?
I get a little depressed. And then like I did Comic-Con this year, and I got kind of a last minute invite to that. And I had like, I think like 3 weeks to prepare or something. And plus I was trying to, plus I got invited to a gallery in LA that I've always wanted to show at, kind of last minute. And so that was like hectic, and I had just a bunch of stuff going on, and I didn't paint a whole lot for like another few weeks there, and so yeah, a lot of stuff just keeps coming up, and but I mean when it works out, yeah, I paint at least 4 or 5 days a week, and then just every now and then things just get in the way. But you know, that's the problem with this job, is you gotta do the business side of it too.
How much time do you spend on the business side?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, lately, you know, the last couple of weeks, it's been 8 hours a day. But sometimes none. It just depends on what's happening. And right now, a lot's happening on the business side, so when the business side is happening, you kind of gotta chase it, because you don't know when it's gonna be good again.
Other than being in the shows, and getting into that one gallery you referred to in LA, do you have certain galleries that carry your work? You know, represent you, or?
I don't have any like official representation. I don't even really know like what that is in the modern context. I mean, I know what it is, but it's you know, it seems it's just, I haven't found the right fit for official representation, I guess. My work's a little hard to sell consistently, I think, for galleries, just because it's, you know, it is a little different. But I do have, a lot of galleries have my work in stock. I think, I don't know exactly what it is right now. I haven't counted it up, but at one point earlier this year, I think I had like 21 pieces out at 11 different galleries, something like that. So there's...
And are those galleries basically Southern California galleries, or?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are. I got a couple pieces like in New York City, a couple pieces in like Oregon.
Okay, so how did you get in Oregon and New York City? Did you venture out to those galleries and show them your work, or how did that happen?
At this point, people are just asking, like, you kind of get into certain galleries and people see you there, kind of just start asking you. A couple of the galleries I'm in LA are pretty, you know, people kind of vulture off of them quite a bit. So I get getting few more offers. those galleries. But,
Do you have a business goal?
yeah, I would love to, I would love to just be doing like a solo show maybe every year or every 2 years, and then maybe like 1 or 2 conventions a year. And have that be good enough. Maybe a couple solo shows here and there, but yeah, the last few years I've been doing, between like 20 and 30 group shows a year. It's exhausting. I've managed to scale it back a bit, but it's it's a lot of work, a lot of shifting stuff around.
Wow.
What have you found works as far as selling your work to the world?
Oh, I wish I could tell you. Doesn't seem to be one magic formula.
Do you have certain people that collect your work?
Yeah, I have some great collectors, that, but I never quite know exactly when they're gonna buy something or what they're gonna buy, but when they see something they like, they snap it up. It's great, but I don't, it's never quite predictable, so there's no real
The other
value.
big question that everybody's got, of course, is how do you price your work?
I think the best formula is to just start extremely low, and then when you sell out, give yourself a raise. 10%, and then when you sell out again or come close, give yourself another raise, and then just keep going. I think square inch is a good formula, with going up in price as you get smaller. Otherwise you'll be, especially if you vary the size of your work. Some of my work is this size, some of it's 36 by 48. So if I charge the same square inch, it would be, I'd be selling this size for nothing basically, or selling my bigger stuff for prices that I would love to get.
How much inventory do you have right now?
Well, I'll have 18 pieces in my show in Escondido, and let's see, at my personal inventory. Other than that, I probably have maybe about 10 pieces. Other than that, and then I think about 20 pieces at other galleries, just in inventory.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Looking at back to reality and natural selection, well, and others, they have a creature, they have a setting for the creature, and then there's an environment. So did you start with the creature?
Yeah, pretty much. My ideas all start with the creature. That's kind of like everything starts in my sketchbook. As far as, by the time I'm painting, I'm painting everything kind of all at once. Kind of how I did here, I get the whole canvas wet. I don't paint them all in one session like I will here, but I get the whole thing wet because a lot of times I move around move the compositions around
And the animals are a conglomerate. There's not a purebred that I've found, right? Is that true?
I've got some of my dog in there. There's some, we've actually tested him, he is purebred,
Yeah?
which I definitely did not expect.
And how do you get some Asian influences?
Some Asian influences? Probably from my tattooing. I did a lot of Japanese style tattooing.
Do you do tattoos?
I did for 17 years, yeah.
You did tattoos
Yeah.
before you were a painter?
Well, I was a painter first, and then I got into tattoos as a way to make money with art. And finally, after 17 years of that, I finally got back to painting. What can I ask you what specifically you're looking at with the Asian influence?
Oh, some of the like symbols that I see. Symbolic interpretation of clouds and water and I've seen in Chinese brush painting.
Yeah, definitely lots of clouds and water in the tattooing.
It's a funny idea to think of an animal that had smooth skin and has a tattoo. Do you ever wake up at night and get your sketchbook from something in your head?
Yeah, all the time.
I thought so. Where did you read that up? Okay, I'm starting a sketchbook. They always advise you to do that. I don't have time to be drawing. You said that's the source from your sketchbook?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think they're scary and they've got a sense of humor. There's a lot to say about your work. It's really, really interesting.
Oh, thank you.
I like the idea of drawing something you've never seen before. Brady, looking at a page of information about an upcoming exhibit, there's a statement about your unusual life experience, that the paintings reflect your unusual life experience. So what's so unusual that you could share with us?
Well, I say unusual death experience, I guess, but I've been resuscitated twice. I have spent most of my 20s living on couches and cars. I've always just kind of been until I was well into my 30s, pretty nomadic, and just never really subscribed to I guess what normal people do. But yeah, and I had head injury, which left me with seizures, and
I couldn't quite hear that.
I had a head injury which left me with seizures. So had a lot of fun medical stuff over the years, and
So what are those near-death experiences?
a couple full death experiences. Not just near, unfortunately, or fortunately, 'cause it was all good in the end, but I'm here, so I guess we're all good.
I have to ask you, comes up a lot with a lot of artists in my group about social media. And, do you find that that's helped you in your art career, or do you feel like it's no big deal, or you just think it's just a part of whatever?
I think it's definitely helped. Especially, I discovered it pretty early on for tattooing with MySpace. When MySpace was only, maybe 100,000 people, it was pretty much just in LA and San Diego and Seattle, I think. Maybe San Francisco. It was available everywhere, but that was pretty much the main audience at that point. And that's how early I was on it, trying to push my tattooing. And it was
I noticed you have 12,000 followers
yeah.
on Instagram.
It's not showing my stuff to anybody at this point, so it's kind of doesn't really matter, but I'm also pretty over it, so I don't really spend a lot of time trying anymore. I still put my stuff on there, but I think it, the amount of effort I put in, it doesn't really show it to anybody, so I've kind of got no point now where it's.
Why do you have 12,000 followers? Is that, did you make a concerted effort? Did you have somebody helping you?
Well, I used to.
I'm like hovering at 800, and that's like a big deal. And I spent a lot of time on Instagram.
Yeah, I used to, go subscribe to all the formulas, okay, you use this many hashtags, post this many times a week. I used to follow all those formulas and think about all that stuff, and I don't know, I'm just so over it now that I just kind of throw something up there when I feel like it.
Have you had something that's come your way as a result of social media?
Yeah, I used to be able to sell work on there, but now it doesn't show my stuff to anybody, so. And I've had galleries find me on there. But now,
Where did you learn the formulas and things like that for your Instagram?
it's all, you can just look online, look on Google.
Yeah, just Google it. How do I get 12,000 followers?
I mean, I also had some followers from when I was tattooing, but I don't know if that helps me or hurts me, because some of them probably don't like the painting stuff, so it might just be in the way, I don't know. It's hard to say.
I'm just curious about tattoo work. Did you do a lot of original work when you were tattooing, or were you working from catalogs?
I did a lot of original stuff, mostly original stuff, but, even the stuff that you're drawing and doing originally, or original, still kind of feels regurgitated, a lot of it. It's, it's still a lot of the same motifs and a lot of traditional tattoo designs and Japanese tattoo designs, which even if I drew them original, they still kind of feel like they're not exactly what I wanted to be drawing, I guess.
So as an artist, who would you say were your primary influences?
I guess it depends on what time period. Like early on, I really liked a lot of like hot rod art and like surreal stuff. So like Robert Williams and like Dali and stuff. And then kind of got it really into like in college. I got more into like more Renaissance style stuff. More like Rubens and stuff like that. Caravaggio. And after that, I was really more into like the pop surrealism type stuff. Like Mark Ryden and Todd Shore. I guess that's kind of where I'm still at in my head. Yeah, so I've just been going in and doing some details here, trying to give it a little bit of texture. So building up another layer of paint. So it's so that way it'll give it a little bit more dimension.
So you chose not to do the teeth?
Yeah.
That's a whole different kind of dental hygiene.
Yeah, actually went through a pretty big phase last year, or a couple of years, where I wasn't painting the teeth and anything, because I was going through all this dental work. So, a lot of times things have a little bit of a self-portrait. It's kind of natural for us to put a little bit of ourselves in this stuff.
Brady, it sounded like you were, as if you were talking about subtle texture earlier. Do you ever do collage or mixed media as a alternative expression?
No, one thing I wouldn't mind doing is like ceramics. If I was gonna get into doing something else, or like sculpture, but I just, I've got some momentum going right now, and I feel like I just need to run with it. So it's hard for me to think about doing other stuff right now. I may, I talked about doing some, spacing on the word, but some work with, I don't know if you know Julie Gray, or Julia Gray. She does those little torsos, the seaweed stuff on them. Yeah, we talked about collaborating. It's a word, tough word to remember, right? We've talked about collaborating on a piece, so I might do that. Try to see if I can do some sculpture. So I'm just gonna kind of blur up a couple of the spots here, so just doesn't look quite so like on a big circle on a black. Sometimes it looks.
So even though your work is more realistic, you're still looking to lose some edges and things like that?
Yeah, and if you really look at my work, you'll notice a lot of times where I'm pulling the lowlights over the, there's a lot of spots where the highlights are gonna blend into the, I'm doing a lot of that stuff where it's not quite as cut and dry as it seems, which I think is kind of important. All right, I'm gonna call it good on that one. If anybody wants to come up and take a quicker look and ask me any questions.